afternoon, which is Jenny wants to give us an update on the YY2 end of life. If we want to broach that now.
Okay, yeah, I just have a quick update. It's been a while since we've talked about it. I wanted to let everyone know that we are continuing to make progress on it. We're now in the kind of final steps of decommissioning the site that's on YN. We're aware that there's like an SEO problem, so if you do search right now for YY topics, you get a lot of YY2 search results in the mix, so we want to fix that. And we're going to try to move everything over to GitHub as much as possible to have everything close to the code, and if anyone wants to, they can still go and fork YY2 and continue to work on it, but we will not be working on it, continue to not be working on it. And on a related note, we're making great progress in moving over to GitHub issues for YY3 tickets. We have turned off accepting new tickets in YYlibrary.com for YY3, as well as anything legacy on there that we weren't really developing against anyway, so that definitely includes YY2. And then we'll be creating the Google groups very shortly now, and once we get that set up and it looks like it's rolling, we'll be decommissioning the forums on YY Library as well. So a lot of end-of-life type of news, just because of all the progress we've been making lately.
Ready for progress.
Yeah, questions and concerns can be addressed on the contrib mailing list.
After that, would we have any, if we decommission track in the forums, do we have anything else that's like old legacy PHP type stuff that we're... Gallery, yeah. Yeah.
Cool, so really it's this game.
It should be noted that we're not going to shut off the forum, we're just going to make it read-only.
Correct.
Same with track for now, correct?
Right.
Yeah. They're basically going into sunset mode where they'll just be, you'll be able to search them still, but you won't be able to add new things to them.
Yeah, we left, well, we left edit mode on the tickets so people can still comment on them. That way we can get who wants this ticket moved over to GitHub.
Yeah, I feel like there's a large number of tickets that we will be leaving behind and making a bit of a clean break as we move to GitHub. But if there's a ticket that you care about in YYlibrary.com, definitely thumbs up it or comment on it, bump it back up into visibility, and I'll be sure to migrate anything that gets that sort of love from the community over to GitHub specifically. We'll be moving tickets over as we have things that we want to work on. Whatever we are going to work on, we're going to reflect in GitHub. So anything that's in the current ticketing system, we'll take the trouble to move it as we are ready to work on it. But if there's anything in the community that you want love for or a shout out for or to be tracked on GitHub, definitely let me know, and I'll be happy to move those over for you.
Also note there won't be any kind of automatic migration from forums to the new groups. You'll need to sign up either using existing email account, use it there, but you'll have to either, if you haven't signed up for that account, you'll have to, it won't be an auto migration. Great.
Sorry, everyone.
Thank you, and we'll deal with the sound issue. All right, so what's left after all the problems with sound would be the stale pull requests, and we can jump right into that. Basically what happens is the criteria for this is if it's a community contributor or it's someone in the community who has an open pull request that's just been waiting in limbo and there's not been any response to it for like over a week, we try to highlight it here so that we can get people to take a look at it and keep it moving forward. There's a number, so if you go to the Roundtable Topics Twiki page, which I can post on IRC, you'll see that there's a link to a stale pull request review. That basically does a query and it shows the oldest, the least recently updated bugs. It's not the oldest pull request, it's just the pull requests that have been least updated, least recently updated. And some of these are already marked work in progress, which means they're kind of basically telling us to ignore those for now. But the one that's most likely to be a candidate was one we talked about last week. Well, there's pull request 541, which is in works already. I got an update from Luke. So I'll take a look at that next week. There's one that we wanted to try to assign an owner to, which was, let's see. Let me go over the ones that are candidates, but I have someone dealing with them. Pull request 471 was about mass events, and I just sent a response to Tilo to take a look at that one. So Dave, you want to drop that new seed in? Pull request 586.
No.
Yeah. What's the thoughts on that?
So I pushed it up to a branch so someone could continue where I left off.
Okay.
What I had to do was break it apart so that I could actually have a static YUI global object, and then that way we could have a static environment, because the env off the YUI object wasn't actually fully populated until after you created the first instance. Which means that we couldn't populate the feature tests there, which is what we want to do. We want to be able to put the feature tests under there so that they're static and shared across all the instances. So my initial pass was to actually break it apart into a bunch of smaller pieces and then assemble it back together the way it kind of sort of should be and make it pass all the tests. So that's the state that it's in at the moment. Is it's been separated out and then put back together. The global object and the instances are two separate objects now. Instead of the YUI object being a fake constructor thingy that just would make weird stuff, it's actually the YUI global is a factory that creates instances under the hood. The nice part about that is that you could actually, if there was another YUI on the page when this one comes on, it could actually cache that factory under the hood. And when you call YUI use, you could actually specify a specific version and get an instance of that version back. So then you could actually stack them and have 2 or 3 versions of YUI on the page, and then be able to get an instance back bound to that specific version. And then at that point, you could modify loader to then be version specific when it pulls in modules.
Wow, crazy. So let me wrap my head around that. So basically, you're saying that you can load in multiple seed files?
You would be able to eventually.
Okay, eventually, that's at least the long-term plan with it, is you'd be able to load in multiple seed files and have that one factory, basically, and you load in 3 different factories, but each of those factories can load in, or can create instances of YUI that are different versions.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, so that was the goal. There was 2 goals to it. One was getting YUI.env being static.
Yeah.
That way we can always put things there, and they're always going to be there. Because at that point we would actually have YUI.env.features. Right. And that's where we would put all the feature tests that are then cached and reused per instance. And then the factory part is a byproduct of that, is that you could actually store those factories under the hood and pull them back in different versions if you needed to. By default, calling a YUI paren would give you whatever the latest was, but theoretically you could put an API on there to give it a version, and it would give it back to you, give you an instance back of that version. And then that gets us along farther down the road of actually having version dependency modules, so that you could say that DD worked from 3.9.0 all the way up to 3.11. And any of those seed files would be able to pull only one of those modules and attach it, and then if another version came on that wasn't like that, it could go out and get the real version of DD and attach it. So it works our way down that to where we can actually have version modules.
Yeah, that would be really helpful, because that's one of the things with the benchmarking stuff that I've done, is that I load in multiple seeds, but I have to wrap them in new objects, essentially, and export the YUI to a different variable. Yeah, so that would at least remove some of the hacky stuff that add in there. So yeah, it would be really, really useful to have that feature.
Plus, it is the part of the original design of YUI to be able to have versions of things. So,
Aha. Yeah.
you know, a few versions, a few subversions later, get around to that. It's still a good idea.
So what's your thoughts on who to be the new curator for that, or the
Whoever hasn't lost all their hair yet.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm getting there. So
Yeah, like I said, I put it up there so that someone could run with it if they wanted to, but I didn't have time to finish it because there was so much other stuff that needed to be done as well. You know, because like I said, it was the first step to getting the feature tests, and then once the feature tests get in, we got to change the build system to generate those feature tests, and then we got to change the loader to actually use them. So it's this trickle down tree, and this was the very top of the list thing that needed to be done.
do you have any like docs or anything? You have maybe notes or anything you can attach to the pull request?
There's a Trello board attached to it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll just keep us on here because otherwise it thinks it's there. So. Let's go down the list a bit more. There's one that was updated 13 days ago for Eduardo. It says separate logic to insert button container on y.widget buttons to simplify class customization. This is pull request 556. This one's in Eduardo's. Looks like it's in Eduardo's camp right now. Let's do test. And then we have a pull question Saturn that we talked about last week. There's one from Wenbing. It says fix note number 610. So let's see what 610 is about. Request 611. So do we want to close this one, Dave, or
6.1 or 6.2 or
611?
6.11?
Yeah, 611.
Hang on, I wasn't even looking at the screen. Let me go find it.
Okay. Yeah, you're the last person to comment on it. It's about, it says, please do not file issues like this. We would like to see a full description of the issue in the pull request. And it looks like it needs tests as well. Yeah, no, never mind. This one is, it looks like it's on the issuer to add some tests. So that one's not really in the candidate. The next one as candidate would be 480. It says configuring a Y instance to emit facade by default to be thrown by the focus. By Nate Kavanaugh. And
What was that again? The audio blinked out on me for a second.
pull request 480. It looks like it's in Satyan's camp, so I'll ping him about this one. Okay. All right, moving right along. There's one that was last updated 9 days ago. Model sync.rest add resource prefix.
What number?
This is pull request 618. Moving my laptop. Okay. So there's some back and forth between Simon and Eric regarding this one. Ryan's not here. I would say this one is in the issuer's. Well, it's not. So basically, he has a open question for Eric about coming up with a better name, I guess. So I think for this one, I'll just ping Eric to see if they've had any conversations offline and to just update about the issue. So Dave, there's this pull request for the added contributors list. Is this just dropped in?
Yeah, it should just be drop in. It just didn't get merged for the last release.
Oh, okay. So I'll just get somebody to throw it in, unless you want to put it in. And that's pretty much it for stale pull requests. We have a few right on the cusp, but we can go through those next week. A lot of these, usually what happens is the older the pull request is, the less likely it is to ever get talked about. And the newer ones, they go pretty quickly. So it may go like up to a week without being commented on, but they tend to be cycled through pretty quickly. I guess the last thing is just we're up to 65 bugs in the unassigned queue. And as Jenny mentioned, a lot of these will either fall off the radar, or if someone is interested in picking these up, they'll end up getting moved to an unassigned label in the GitHub issues. So if you want one to survive, vote it up or take it and move it to GitHub. And outside of that, I don't have anything else new to add. Unless do you have anything to share? Or
No, not really.
well, there's one thing. If you're watching this and you follow the blog and you enjoy the YY Weekly stuff, I appreciate it if you run across something that you've seen in a tweet or a blog post or something, to send it to us. Either talk to us on IRC, or do you have another way to?
I think IRC is the best way to do it, yeah.
You can also just at mention YY Library, and it'll show up on our radar. So if you run across anything, feel free to send us a tweet or an IRC message.
Yeah, contributions for YY Weekly are awesome. So that would be much appreciated.
Cool.
What might very well be my last commit to YUI was the contributors. I just merged it.
Well, that's appropriate. Well, I just want to tell you, Dave, you will be sorely missed, and I'm sure that people will try to leech stuff off you when you come back. So even when you come back, you might want to make yourself invisible for a while.
Yeah, I might just change my cell phone number, change my email address, IM handles, all of it.
It's the Witness Relocation Project for YY contributors. Grow some hair. Well, I just want to tell you on behalf of everybody on the YY team that you're freaking amazing, and I feel like this is just the beginning for you. You've got a lot of amazing stuff ahead of you. Like, I know that I remember when I first joined Yahoo, I would see you in posts, and you do presentations and stuff, and how enthusiastic you were, and that's kind of what kept me going as well. So I really appreciate the fact that you've poured so much time and energy into this project, and that your stamp is on everything, and it will be a legacy for a long time. So I'm glad that you're spending time here, and that you'll continue to do stuff. So I can't wait to see what awesome stuff you do next.
Oh yeah, I've got a long list.
Agreed, Dave. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, have fun with the new what is it, geothermal system?
Yeah.
You're saying that you can hardly tell it's working, right?
Yeah, I actually have to check the vents to see if the thing's actually running.
We'll see if we can make Mountain Dew as well while it's working with a cooler attached to it.
Oh yeah, well I've already figured out it's got a USB slot on the side of it, and there's a Cat5 interface on the front, so I might come back in July with about 15 geothermal node modules.
That's awesome. Well, we're done for today. So again, thanks, Dave, for everything you've done, and it's the end of new things, but it's starting with other new things. So thanks again.
Cool.
All right. See you guys.
Mhm.